Welcome to the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. For group exercise junkies and enthusiastic classgoers, we'll explore and uncover authentic, thought-provoking, and heartwarming industry education and inspiration from entertaining, badass fitness pros. And now your host, creator of Warrior Rhythm, Warrior Strength, Warrior Combat, Warrior Revolution, and Warrior Kids Group fitness brands, Ellen DeWord. Here we grow.
Welcome, everybody, to Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. Hi, Sabrina.
Hi, Ellen. I'm so excited to be here.
And we have
on
Oscar.
my favorite podcast.
Yes, this is her favorite podcast ever.
Yes.
Animals in Tow.
I binged about 50 hours of it straight.
He did, people. So that's actually exactly where I wanted to start this show, is telling them how I was your best friend before I really knew who you were.
Yes.
I mean, we had seen each other here and there on the presenter circuit. And I knew I really liked you and was drawn to your super positive energy when at conference before last. Where were we there?
ECAC.
ECAC. Because I had a little chance to kind of connect with you the night before it all kicked off, which was probably a Thursday night. And I was kind of then putting you together with your Instagram butterfly, oh, that's the girl. And so then I felt like we had a little connection there. I'm not sure why, but I know I really like her. And then when we
I felt the exact same way.
Did. Oh.
Yeah.
And then I think part of that is just the exposure we had to each other online and both showing up authentically online. I think we did have a sense of kind of who each other were. So then we just got back from Nashville, people. And when we get there again, it's the night before, maybe 2 nights before, because I had a pre-con. So we're there really early. Sabrina has 25 trampolines to unload all by her little itty bitty teeny tiny self. And I have my dog in tow. And I'm going to set up my little table, my vendor booth. And she's just you don't know it, but we are best friends.
Let me explain why that happened. So 2 days before Nashville, you had just posted an episode with Siri Chalazi, and I love Siri, and I had listened to that. And I think I knew you had a podcast before, but I hadn't really listened to it. I didn't really know about it. And after the Siri episode, I was like, wait, this is great. So I went back and I started at episode 1, and I had a 16-hour drive to get to Nashville. And I did not expect to listen to your podcast for the entire 16 hours, but that was what happened. So I was completely delirious, no sleep, got out of my car, and you were the first person I saw, basically. So I was like, Ellen, we're best friends. You don't even know it.
And then when I started talking to you, you're like, oh my gosh, your voice has literally been in my head for 16 hours straight. And here you are actually talking to me.
Yes.
It was so fun. So I'm really excited. I think we have so much value to bring our audience. You share them. You've listened to everything now.
I love that.
I think it's going to be a great topic. We've kind of titled this episode Bouncing Back, and I've prepared zero for it because I've learned that my favorite episodes, now that I'm a podcaster, now that I had my 1-year anniversary, I feel like I kind of maybe know what I'm doing right now, a little bit barely. I feel like the more organic I am, the less scripted I am on my end of the show, the more I can listen and learn and tune in and ask you questions or, take a second to add on to or just resonate with you. I can be more present and tuned into you if I don't hyper prepare on my end. But I do know what we're talking about. And I do love that you as a guest are prepared. In fact, Sabrina has 3 pages of notes. And she did tell me that page 1 is just kind of her journey in fitness and kind of how she got to where she is today, which I'm excited to learn because I have not listened to your voice for 16 hours straight. So I have some catching up to do.
Yeah, this is like a one-way best friendship right now. So we're like a little more two-way street here.
So and then page 2, kind of where we're going to start to get into some of the meat and potatoes and the value. This is really interesting. We're going to talk about, Sabrina is going to talk to us about the trampoline and some of the benefits, I believe, the health benefits, and some of why it's wonderful to jump on a trampoline. I can't wait to learn. And then finally, we're going to talk about I'm going to listen to how we can bounce back, I don't know, page 3 is about bouncing back. One more thing before I be quiet. There's drones happening on the East Coast. She's in New York. There's drones. We're already experiencing some weird internet glitches, probably from the drones. So if we cut out, if you're watching on YouTube and we freeze, just hang in there with us. And if there's any glitch in audio, just please give us some grace. We're going to keep our show rolling. All right, Sabrina, take it away. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me here on my favorite podcast. Very excited. So I was thinking about how I wanted to start this because my career is kind of wild and crazy, but I thought I would just start with this quote that I think kind of like summarizes how I feel about life. And I think it'll make sense when you hear the career. So it's, if you pay attention to the patterns of your life, you'll realize everything always works out. Everything always takes you to a greater destination. You always grow. And the things you think you can't survive, you somehow divinely make it through. That's life. Always remember that. So when you kind of hear like where I started and then how I ended up here, some of it might sound like, what? Like you went in this, you did corporate and you did this and you were a dancer and then you went and did this, but it kind of all is pieces of this like bigger puzzle. So I grew up dancing from kindergarten all the way through high school. And when I went to college, I was not planning to dance. I kind of thought after high school, like, oh, that's the end of my dancing career. But freshman year, there was a requirement for a movement class. And I took a modern dance class, which I had never taken before, completely loved it, took dance classes multiple dance classes every semester after that. Because I'm like, wait, I can take these classes like for free in college. This is amazing. And I had ended up already finishing the major by sophomore year because I had taken so many dance classes. So I majored in dance. I also majored in psychology. And I did a really cool senior project on dance movement therapy, combining dance and psychology, which kind of comes into play a little bit now with what I do. After college, I was a paralegal in New York for 3 years. And there's lots of funny stories there that I won't go into on this podcast, but how I ended up as a paralegal, I was auditioning to be a Disney park princess after college. And my dad was like, you're not a princess, get a real job. And so I had summer paralegals at this amazing firm. I knew nothing about it when I did the summer thing, but it happened to be the summer after 9/11. And so the firm was busier than it had ever been. And normally the summer interns are just, they hang out there. It's not a real job. But I worked crazy hard that whole summer because it was so busy. And so they offered me a real job after. So that was kind of how I ended up at the paralegal job, thinking that I would be auditioning for dance stuff in New York City. And I ended up working like 22 hours a day, every day for the whole 3 years that I was up. It was insane, completely insane, but I loved every second of it. And finally, some of the partners said, you really need to go to law school. I mean, you might as well be an attorney. You're doing all this work anyway. So I went to law school, loved every second of law school, went into the corporate world, and I was a corporate lawyer, which I also completely loved. And during that time, I basically did not work out for 10 years. Like I was just at a computer at my desk every second of every day and then sleeping maybe 2 hours a day. And so I had a really cool opportunity to switch firms at one point and go work with my judge who I had clerked for. And when he made the offer, I thought, okay, this might be my last vacation of my life, switching firms. So I took an entire 2 months off. Okay. And one of my friends had said, you should try this class. It's called Zumba. It's like at the gym. And I'm like, I don't really go to the gym, you know? Like I don't think I'd ever even stepped foot in an actual gym. And I went to this Zumba class and it felt like dancing at a party. It was so much fun. I had the whole 2 months off. So I just took like 5 classes a day. And I was like, okay, gyms are fun. I didn't know about this. And then the instructors would always like pull me up to the front. I always started in the back. I never wanted the attention. I just wanted to, have fun. But people would always pull me up to the front. They're like, oh, your energy's great. Oh, you're easy to follow. I'm like, I don't know what I'm even doing, but they'd pull me to the front. And this was like 2011-ish when Zumba was like, if your instructor wasn't there one day, everyone would just turn around and walk out of the room. It was like really hard if a sub was there. It was in New York City. It was the height of like the popular, people only took
all the Zumba instructors back then had the cute pants with all the
I had those too. I loved them. Yeah, the little cargo things. Yes. So 2 of my instructors said, will you just get licensed in case we ever need a sub? And so one of my like secret skills is, it's actually crazy, but I can see choreography once and remember it and know.
It's like a photo. It's like a photographic memory situation.
Yes, of movement. And especially of movement tied to music. It's totally crazy. Like I know your entire lesson 22 from doing it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You know how many people listening right now hate you and want to claw your eyes out? Because we have to sit there and practice.
I know, it's crazy. Like I can watch a TikTok dance twice and then go and do it in one take. It's really weird. But so because of this like thing, I could take multiple different Zumba instructors' classes and I knew all of their choreography to all of the music. And so I could sub for anyone and kind of like do their style and use some of theirs. So I ended up taking the Zumba training. And I don't know if it still is, I hope it still is, but basically at any big box gym in the city, you had to have Group X cert. So it didn't matter if you just had the Zumba license.
Yeah. Back then. I don't think it's the case today as much, but totally, yeah.
Okay. Well, so I had to get my Group X cert. So I got that.
Who did you use?
I think I did ACE first. I have all of them now, like ACE, AFAA. I have personal training with ACE and NASM. I'm like I love learning and I like hearing different people describe it and hearing things in different ways.
Yes.
But I think I started with AFAA because I think like everyone had AFAA at the time. That was like the main one. I don't know. But so I started teaching Zumba and I was still working as a lawyer because 2 months later I like started my job. And so I actually put this isn't even my confession, but this is great. For like 2 years, I had a standing meeting on my calendar and my assistant didn't even know where I was. And it was when I went to teach my Zumba class at the 92nd Street Y.
I can't stand it. I love it. You made it a standing meeting. Interjection. I love that. And if you happen to be, sometimes we have like, even some of the members that take my classes listen to this podcast. So like to those of you that are listening that are not instructors, but are actual like students of classes, we just love it when we are an appointment. Like we are an appointment. We are a meeting. Put it on your calendar. You have a meeting with us.
And I had a meeting every week. And
my partners never asked.
It didn't matter if they asked because my assistant didn't know where I was. I purposely didn't tell her to protect her in part.
Yeah.
It was great because they'd be like, where's Sabrina? And she's like, she'll be back in an hour. So
and
she'll call you as soon as she's back.
And aside, like mental health appointment so that you can, okay.
Yes, exactly. And just a little side note on 92nd Street Y at the time. So I don't know if you like know the kind of general membership there, but it's a lot of older women who just don't care. Like they will tell you exactly what they think. They love to complain about everything. And so this was the absolute best place to start teaching because I learned so much so fast, and I learned how to handle whatever was thrown at me. Like, 5 people would complain, the music's too loud. It's blowing our eardrums out. And then there are people that are deaf in the class and they're like, we can't hear the music. And then like one lady would go up and just change it, like not ask me. She would just go and change it. So I'm like, okay, I've got to take control of the music. I'm putting it at this volume. If you're deaf, stand really close over here. If it's too loud, go stand over there. Like, took control. Then they're like, you need to face us, other people. You need to face the mirror. I would switch it up. But just all those things really taught me like how to deal with members and requests and what people wanted, and how to take feedback. And I ended up really using it as a way to grow and get more classes. Like, I would ask them for feedback after. I would say, please come tell me what you thought. What can I do better? What songs do you like and do you want to hear? And if you like this class, please go tell the management. Like, tell them that you really like this class. And they did. And so
no one's ever said that on the show before. Boom. That's a big tip. Yes.
It was awesome.
We can ask members to, yes.
Great. Yeah. Tell people that you like my class, because then I'll get more classes on the schedule. And so they would ask me to sub all the time because the members would say, can we get more classes with Sabrina? Like, it was great. So it was a great starting off point. Sometime in there is when I took my first trampoline class. I don't remember the exact time, but a friend had said to me, I think you would really like this class on trampolines. And I'm like, okay, sure. It sounds fun. Like, I was open to anything at that point. And I went and took this class. It was a 1-hour class that went by in 5 minutes flat. Like, it was the most fun I ever had. I am not someone who sweats so much in class, and I was drenched from head to toe.
Wow.
And I just, like, I had the absolute best time ever. So I started taking that class. I just bought a trampoline for my apartment at the time because a lot of times I wasn't getting out of work until, 3 in the morning, and there's not a good class to take at 3 in the morning. So I would do like bounce at home, and it didn't bother my neighbor downstairs because the rebounder absorbs it. So that's how I got into rebounding. I took an online training, and then kind of like fast forward to COVID, I quit my corporate job. I had an opportunity to start a fitness company and kind of do it full time. So it was a big, huge leap. I was very nervous, but, jumped. Oh my God. We're going to the metaphors later. And then when COVID happened, I moved out of the city, like the whole city shut down. And also this was a weird thing, but I had literally packed a bag for about 2 weeks, just thinking this is like a weekender kind of thing. And I never saw my apartment again. Like, I never got to say goodbye to my doorman. I never got to. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was crazy. So like 6 months later, I moved out over Zoom. Like, I just watched movers move. And I was like, can you stop by the doorman so I can say goodbye to them? It was like really sad. And so that kind of ties in with what I'm doing now, because I think COVID was really a time of I heard it called at some point collective grief. Like, I think we all experienced major losses during COVID, even if it wasn't a death of someone that you knew. Like, a lot of people lost jobs. A lot of people, their jobs just kind of changed for the last time, and they didn't know, like, maybe people work from home now and they were always at the office before, and where a lot of people moved and never went back. So there's this kind of like feeling of grief associated with a loss or just a big change, right? So I had that, and I started teaching a lot more Zoom classes, and especially Zoom trampoline classes. And one of the people that I met during that time, her name was Vicki Waterman. She was the co-founder of Wearable Weights. I think I told you about this. They're the weighted sleeves. And she, sadly, she got pancreatic cancer, and she died a couple of years ago. And that was a really, really, really hard loss for me. But she encouraged me, especially with this rebounding career. She got me really hooked up with jump sport and got me to teach classes. And she's always encouraging me, go present, go do more. She was amazing. And she always said, never miss a Monday. And this podcast is Monday. So they're just like signs everywhere. And my trampoline class is Monday night. How weird is that? So, yeah, so that's kind of like.
So did you just decide, sorry, I just want to go back a second. Did you just decide corporate law, like that was not for you? Like when did you decide, or are you still, so in this part of the story, by the time COVID hit and you were teaching online, what was happening with the law firm? Were you done?
I left. Yeah, I was done. I left the law firm. I'm still in touch with everybody there. Yeah. I left on good terms. I still really, really love them. I really felt like I was called to help people find more joy and like help people with movement and help people with their health. And I was I'm not meant to like sit in an office.
Right. All day. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So now my company is called Joyful Metamorphosis. And basically what I do is help people find joy through whatever transition time they're going through in life, like whether it's a move or a death or a, birth of a grandchild or a kid leaving the house. Like change is everywhere and it's really hard for a lot of people to deal with. And so a lot of people throw themselves into their Group X classes. And I think we'll get to this. This maybe is like a good segue, but I think trampoline classes in particular, they're such a good metaphor for life. So I think I help people, move through those times of hardness, grief, or whatever.
Before we segue into benefits and stuff of a trampoline, I wanted to just say that you really are like extraordinary. I mean, really, truly, your spirit is so like light and airy and beautiful and magnetic and contagious. And I just want our listeners to know that, like, before we keep going, it's really true. I know it makes me want to cry also, but I'm so glad that we met, and it feels more like a collision. Like it feels more like we got flung into each other's orbits rather quickly. And actually, I'm going to see you in like a week. So we've been talking a lot since Nashville, and it was really interesting for me to observe you and the way the other presenters relate to you. And you had this, okay, now I'm going to talk to the audience for a second. She had this pink, humongous blow up chair. Like it was gigantic. Like, I don't even know what to compare it to. Like, I don't know. It was enormous. Like you could fit multiple adult bodies on this big pink kind of bouncy chair. And she, I don't know, you were also sort of in the center of the whole like exhibit space. And I just noticed like you were like a fulcrum. You were kind of the center of gravity. And I just think it's people being drawn to something bright and happy. And so I love the whole joyful metamorphosis being the butterfly logo that you use and sort of your mission in life, because I just think it suits you perfectly. And you even shared with me when we talked over breakfast. I guess that was considered breakfast, remember?
Breakfast that turned to lunch.
We got
almost turned to dinner.
Kicked out. We did get kicked out of my dog, but anyway, lunch that turned into breakfast that turned into lunch that turned into dinner. Yeah. You shared with me that you even were kind of the joy in the lawyers' lives, and you helped them find joy in that really hard practice. So, but before you go into the benefits of trampoline, can I guess? Can I tell you what?
Yes, but I have a little funny story about that. Did I tell you about the happiness fairy?
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Okay. So at my law firm, one of the things so part of my last job was actually helping to boost associate morale.
Oh.
And one of the things that I would always suggest is like, just show them how appreciated they are and like really celebrate the weekends, give them vacation because they'll come back rested and better, And so these associates, everyone was working so hard. We were all there 24/7. So I would go around in the middle of the night at like 3, 4 in the morning and just leave a little note on someone's desk that was working really hard, just right on their computer. And it was like, you're doing awesome. You're so appreciated. And it was at a time, I think like cronuts had just come out. There was some special dessert that had just come out in the city. So I would like go get one and leave it on their desk and stuff.
Yeah. What is that?
Cronut, it's like a croissant mixed with a donut. I don't even know. I don't remember. There were all kinds of.
Hold on. Did they know you were the fairy?
No. So it started off and nobody knew. And so it turned into this thing of like, who is leaving notes on it? Like, and everybody wanted to get one. They wanted to get the note. And my like best friends at the firm knew that it was me. But then what happened is it expanded. Like other people started just leaving kindness notes on people's desks. And it really was this amazing thing. And then I got called to the CFO's office and whatever, we had some issue. I was like very bubbly at a place that was not bubbly really. And so we were talking and she like wasn't thrilled with I would get to work late sometimes. My technical job was 9 to 5. I was there until 3 or 4 in the morning every day. So some mornings I would get in at like 10:30 or something because the people that needed me to work, I knew it was going to be at 11 or midnight. Like I was going to be there. So we're talking and then she's like, and I heard you break into associates' offices in the middle of the night. And I was like, it's not really breaking in, it's like, it's the happiness fairy. Didn't you hear about it? It's boosting morale. She goes, we don't have happiness fairies here.
Okay. Well then.
So the happiness fairy's wings got clipped a little bit.
No, you did not tell me. That is crazy. No happiness there.
Yeah.
Oh.
We found other ways to bring the joy. But sorry, I cut off. You were going to say something.
Oh, I want to take a guess at what I imagine some of the benefits are. And I know you're going to go much deeper because you already, I know you're going to, I know I won't have everything, but one, I feel like we stop jumping. Like as we become adults, and particularly then even older adults, we just stop jumping. But if you think about kids, and sadly less kids today in today's world that we live in, but when I was a kid, I was just always jumping. I think it's like an expression of happiness. I also think so is whistling. Like I whistle a lot, and I think people don't whistle if they're like sad and morose. Like I just think there's jumping is a sign of happiness. And I remember like every time, even when I was like in middle school, and I was walking through the halls of school, I would jump up and try to hit the door frame, just jump and try to reach the door frame. Like every time I walk through a door, like every time I walk through the door, I try to jump and we just stop jumping. And so I think that there is a correlation between happiness and joy and jumping and youthfulness. Like, I don't mean youthfulness in an aesthetic way, but youthfulness in an energetic way. Another benefit I imagine is obviously that it's joint friendly. So the impact, it's like you can jump, but then it's, not wear and tear on the joints. And what was my other one that I was going to say? Shoot, I had another idea for why. Well, it's cool and novel because it's pretty, there aren't like, just so there are no gyms in town here that have trampolines.
So we got to get them.
So it's novel. Like, hello, if you're an owner operator listening to my podcast and you live in Eugene, be the one. like be the one that starts a trend that has something cool and unique and boutique-like almost. So anyway, I had another one, but I can't remember what it is, but that's okay because I'm here to learn from you anyway. So tell us about the trampoline.
Okay, yes. So responding to just those, which are all, I think, basically connected, I think the reason we stop jumping as adults in part is because our knees hurt and our back hurt. Like we're getting older, right? The joints actually, it hurts to jump on concrete. When you're 9 years old, it felt okay. At 40 something, we're like, I'm not doing that because that's going to kill my body. So it's low impact on your joints, which means that you can jump. Kind of related to that, and the fact that you can jump hard on it and not hurt your joints. I kind of group the trampoline benefits into two like buckets. So I'll call it the high energy, like going hard bucket and the benefits associated with that. And then the other bucket. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The other bucket. I bet I know the other bucket. So the other thing I was going to say is that I thought it would be very therapeutic or prehab benefits, because just having like been someone who's had like ACL repairs, you lose, if you tear ligaments, you lose proprioception. And so they put you on like balance boards and things that create a little instability to help your like brain reroute. And so you can develop those proprioception and help with balance. So that was the other thing I was going to guess. But
yes, good. You got it. You got it.
Ding,
okay, so I'm going to like rapid fire just go through some benefits and not really talk in depth about them. And then if you have any questions, ask. Otherwise, we'll move on. So in the high energy bucket, obviously weight loss and calorie burn, because you can go so hard. You can actually increase bone density when you're going really hard. So not only slowing the loss of bone density or like preventing osteoporosis, you can actually increase bone density when you bounce really hard. Muscle strengthening, improve coordination, increase energy, kickstart your metabolism, efficiency. So if you're going really hard, 10 minutes on the trampoline is equivalent to approximately 30 minutes of running outside. So it's like 3 times more effective.
No way. Do you know why? I wonder why.
So in part, it has to do with the G-force. So like when you land and rebound, I don't really know like the physics of it, but I just know there are studies by NASA and there are other studies that go into this. It's something about how it affects every cell in your body. So like the G-force, something about it makes it affect every cell in your body. And so it's
interesting.
Apparently 3 times more effective than running outside. Let's see. Okay, so those are like the high energy. In the kind of lower impact benefits, I would say definitely balance. Such an awesome tool to use for balance. The lymphatic benefits are huge, and people are talking more and more about lymphatic stuff now. So lymphatic drainage, it eliminates toxins from your body. And as I'm sure you probably know or talked about on other episodes, I think every time it comes up on other episodes, you're like, this is a whole other episode. But toxins in the environment, in our cleaning products, in our food, like toxins are everywhere. And I think it's contributing to also the rise in cancer that we're seeing everywhere. So if you can do something like this, and you don't have to do it for a long time, like 2 to 5 minutes a day is all you need for this. It's called the lymphatic bounce. It's kind of like this basic movement, and it gets your entire lymphatic system draining, clearing toxins. It boosts your immunity. So it was a great thing during COVID, especially because it's like, and I work with a lot of active aging clients. And so they really care about boosting their immunity, and, balance and everything. And then relating to that is specifically with cancer, there's some new studies that it actually increases white blood cells, like 3 times faster than, I guess, if you're not doing it. But so there are cancer doctors that are saying rebounding, doing this lymphatic bounce could actually help with cancer recovery. It helps with other recovery too, like just injury recovery. It's great for cross training. It's great for rehab. You can do amazing single leg work or like, all kinds of rehab stuff that you can do.
I remember one of the clubs I worked at, we had Les Mills, and then they transitioned away from Les Mills and they replaced it with Rep Reebok. Do you remember Rep Reebok as a program? So I taught Rep Reebok for a long time, and it was a really cool program. I got to tell you about it real quick. Because it was actually genius. Okay. It was genius. I don't know if it still exists today, Reebok people, but it was the coolest program. The members loved it. They loved the transition from Body Pump to Rep Reebok. But it was truly periodized. Sorry, I know this is like a major cul-de-sac, but it was truly periodized. So the first month, so it went in quarters on the calendar year, like January. You did endurance muscle training, so high rep, lightweight. Then in month 2, you do strength training, low rep, heavyweight. And in month 3, you add plyometrics to all the lower body exercises. Okay, so that was one side, and that would repeat for the whole calendar year. The second half, weeks 3 and 4 of every calendar month, you had to balance on a core board. It was called a Reebok core board. It was this unsafe, and you could like reach underneath it and crank this little red. I know there's people listening that are like, I remember that. You crank this little red. There were 3 levels of like super stiff and pretty stable to really wobbly. You could pick your level. And so the last, whether you were doing a single leg bicep curl or whatever. Anyway, I don't know. I don't see that program anymore, but I don't know if it's still around. But anyway, the trampoline provides.
That actually leads right into my next thing. So just about how versatile this piece of equipment, like if you are a fitness instructor and you're thinking like, I don't know if I want to just add like a rebounding class, you can literally use this piece of equipment in every class. So I do bar fusion classes, doing that Reebok thing, but on the, but like you can use the unstable surface with any, anything that you're doing, holding weights or what
do you mean bar fusion? You mean like a?
So I teach a class that I call bounce and bar. It's basically a bar fusion. But a lot of people teach like bar fusion classes. It's not pure bar class, but it's like bar inspired, so stuff with light weights, lots of reps, you're standing on one leg and balancing, all those kinds of things. You can take any of that to the trampoline. You also can flip the trampoline on its side and use it as your bar. So it's just a great piece of equipment that you can use. You can also use it as a weight. Like I've seen classes where they actually just lift the trampoline and do things with it as a weight. So it weighs, I don't know, whatever, 10, 15 pounds, something like that. You can do tricep dips on it. Like you can really use it as a piece of equipment. You can also do plyo circuits with the trampoline, like add it in with your circuit stuff. I do a whole plyo section in my trampoline classes. Also bands. I'm seeing all this stuff now with human reformer and things like that. The trampoline is amazing because it has 6 anchor points. So you can use your human reformer. I have a long flex cord. I use it on the trampoline and I do all that human reformer stuff on the trampoline, and you can flip it on its side. Same thing. I mean, there's like a million ways that you can just use this one little piece of equipment. So if you, and personal training, I use it with every personal training client that I have, because I like to challenge people and say,
do they come to you or do you go to them, or do you have?
I go to them usually. And it's easy. I throw the trampoline in my car. As you know, I can fit like 25 in there.
I do.
But if you're taking less than 4, I can actually leave the legs on, which makes it a lot easier. So like tomorrow I have 2 back-to-back private clients. I'm throwing 4 trampolines in my car and using them with them. So you can, and abs and core. So if your form is good, your core is engaged the entire time that you're bouncing, because you're kind of like in that athletic stance, core's engaged. But also things like anything with crunches on the ground or bicycles, any of that stuff. I know there's mixed whether you should do it. For me, my spine hurts if I do it on the floor, even if I double up yoga mats or whatever. But you can do any of those things on the trampoline, and the mat essentially supports your back and your spine, and you're in more of a crunch the whole time. So ab work and everything. So for like $350, you can have an entire gym. And I like to challenge people and say, any fitness goal that you have, not even fitness, any life goal, any fitness goal or life goal or movement goal that you have, tell me and I'll show you how you can do it on the trampoline. And I have yet to have someone ask me about a goal that they have that I wasn't able to find a way on the trampoline.
Amazing. So I was going to ask you how much they cost. It's like $350.
It's about $350 with my Jump Sport discount that I'm happy to share with any of your listeners. Full price, they're closer to like $400 to $450.
Okay.
And that's it. There's different brands, like different brands cost different amounts. There's different bungee strengths. I love talking about this. So if any listeners are actually wanting to buy one, just message me or call me. I'll talk you through all the models.
I know some of the warriors have purchased them. Like, didn't you say Kat extra, our girl Kat?
Yeah. Yes. Kat bought one, and April actually took the training with me and started teaching and has like full classes of people bouncing.
Oh, that's incredible. Okay. Oh,
yeah. So yeah, any questions that anyone has about benefits of rebounding, please call me and be prepared for a long call. And then should I just transition that now to kind of like metaphors for life? So, balance is an easy one. Here, you know what? I have something I'm going to read because this is easier and I won't lose my train of thought. Okay. So this is now, that was bouncing back literally with the rebounder, like jumping. This is now bouncing back as a metaphor for life. So I think this is perfect timing because it's now late December. We're like going into a new year. If you think about what energy are you bringing into the new year, or like what intentions do you want to set? Thinking through all those benefits that I just said, here are things that you can use your trampoline to kind of like help you achieve. Finding balance, literally on the trampoline, but then also using it mentally to find balance in your life. Quiet your mind, get more peace, be present. You have to be so present when you're doing this trampoline class, like you're focusing so hard. And you might have seen this in Nashville, but almost every class, I have people close their eyes at one point. And so you're like really just feeling where you are in the space and having this deep mind-body connection. Let go of whatever's weighing you down. Maybe it's literal weight that you want to shed, or maybe it's something that is feeling heavy on your heart or on your mind. And so jumping around on your trampoline is a great way to let that shit go. Either you're going to like literally sweat it off, or you're going to be concentrating so hard on not falling off and not peeing and following along that you're going to forget what's bothering you and let it go. Create space for what you want in your life. So that can apply not just trampoline, but if you're a yoga teacher, anything, if you're creating space with your body, you can also take that into the metaphor of creating space for what you want. Maybe you want to be more productive this year. Okay, start with your workouts and have a super efficient 30-minute workout in 10 minutes. And then that'll transfer to your life. Build strength, add some weights. Here we go. Choose joy. You talked about this before. You can like choose to have fun. So jumping around on a trampoline, you feel like a kid and you're going to laugh. And I love that you brought up the pink chair. Like we were cracking up in Nashville. I mean, we were all hanging out on this like pink blow up.
I swear in one of your stories or someone's reel, I saw someone like upside down on it. Like their feet were on the back and their head was on. It was great.
Yeah, Mark was upside down, cracking up next to him. Like Lauren was behind. You came and like photobombed us. I mean,
I did.
And that's what life is about. It's not about like who has a six pack and who has more people show up in their session. Nobody cares. It was really about are we having fun together and like sharing a joy of movement? And then there's two things. So the second to last one is I call it just jump in, like whatever you want to get started on, whatever you're nervous about and like just can't pull the trigger, just jump in. And sometimes jumping around on a trampoline, it like triggers your brain to be like, okay, just dive in and do it, jump in. And then the last thing is, we kind of talked about it before, but the idea of bouncing back and kind of like the harder you fall, the higher you bounce. I think of those little rubber balls, the ones that are like this big.
Oh yeah.
And when you just
super bounce balls,
you slam that thing on the ground and it goes like into outer space. And so I think of that as really like a metaphor for resilience in life. And it's true on the trampoline that the harder you bounce down, the higher you're going to bounce up. And so I just really take that into life. Like, when you're going through something, you can bounce back. And I know this whole podcast episode was about trampolines, but if you're an instructor, you don't have to have a trampoline for that. Like all those things, you can have all those metaphors in your class. Music plays a huge role for me. A lot of times the lyrics in a song, the class won't even know exactly, what's happening, but the lyrics are telling them something that they're subconsciously taking into their life. And they think they're just balancing on one foot, but the lyrics are telling them about so much more. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I have some like random comments that I'm just gonna kind of shotgun spew. One, and so they're a little bit disjointed because I was trying not to interrupt. If a group fitness instructor is listening and they don't teach like a trademark, format, because of course you have to teach the trademark the way you teach the trademark. You can't like just bring in some random piece of equipment. But a lot of instructors teach their own choreography and their own freestyle stuff. So you've already told me this, like anything. I mean, you said it even today, like anything modality wise can translate to the trampoline. So if an instructor is like maybe burnt out or maybe bored or maybe looking for something new, but maybe doesn't want to do a whole nother, I don't know. If they or their club invested in however many trampolines they need to accommodate their members, or maybe it's even a specialty class, maybe there's space limited because there's 15 trampolines or something like that. Couldn't they just do their format, like adapt it to the trampoline?
Totally. And one of my favorite things about it is trampoline, because it's not a branded format, there is no ongoing fee at all. So like if you take on a new branded format, a lot of times you'll have some sort of monthly fee.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's just a capital investment of the trampolines. Do they get, if someone wanted to do that, like a club wanted to get 40 trampolines or 15 trampolines, is there a deeper discount for buying in bulk?
Yes, there is. And I can also, if there's an instructor that is listening and is interested in starting this, and April can tell you this, she's one of your people, I will literally help you. Like I will walk you through it. I will help you get clients. I'll help you get started in your first, whether it's a gym class or private. The way that I started teaching was I made an investment myself, but I bought 6 trampolines myself. So I had 5 plus 1 for me. And I invited friends over and I just taught small group classes to 5 people. And then it picked up. And then what I started doing was letting people borrow one of my trampolines for a 10-week session. And it was like $10 a week and they got to borrow it for the whole time, take the Zoom classes with me.
Oh, I wondered how you handled that with teaching on Zoom, how you got, they could rent it kind of for 10 weeks.
They rented it. And then what ended up happening is they all bought it at the end. Yep. So they just paid me the difference and kept it. So I ended up getting my whole investment back. now all my students had trampolines and the Zoom classes got to continue.
Oh, that's a great, not scary way to kind of jump in, jump in like your last point. Okay. Other random point. Okay. I also listen to lots of podcasts all the time. And I was recently listening to this one. It was incredible. It was about, it was so incredible. I think it was Huberman. I don't even know what show it was, but the guests were incredible. They were a husband and wife physical therapist team that just released a book. Sorry, I don't know their names or the name of the book, but I know what I took away from this episode. They were saying that hip mobility has so much so much correlation to longevity and life like expectancy and how mobile you are in your hips. If you can get up off the floor without hands, there's a lot of data that says you're going to live a longer life than someone that can't. And they also, I love the way this husband and wife were, because they also, it wasn't like deflating or discouraging. And they're like, if you can't do that right now, because you sit at a desk all day and you're, feeling like you're in your 50s and it's too late to start, you're wrong. It's not too late to start. And they're practical. I'm sorry, this does have a point there, and it does relate to the trampoline eventually. Their practical advice was like, if you can't do it, like just start by sitting on the floor more. And then they're like, there's a lot of data that says if you sit on the floor, you also are more likely to live longer, which was amazing for me because I sit on the floor all the time. I sit on the floor. I'll also sit on the counter and I'll sit on the table. I just am not one to sit in a chair. And so people that sit on the floor because they fidget, okay, this is how I'm going to tie into the trampoline. People that sit on the floor fidget more. And they do more non-exercise activity, NEA, than people that don't sit on the floor. Like we're an archetype, thus us that sit on the floor. So when you sit on the floor, and this is true, like you end up like maybe you sit crisscross and then maybe you roll one, you rotate one hip and then the other one, and then maybe you straddle stretch. Like it's true. So then I sit into pigeon and I'm like on my computer. It's true. You move around a lot. And so, okay, so then I also, when I work at my computer, which is constantly, I do try to stand for a lot of that. And so I was thinking while you were telling us about the trampoline that I think it would be cool. It was when you were talking about the lymphatic bounce or whatever you called it. I was thinking I should just stand on a trampoline while I work. Because I tend to, because, you want to take like movement breaks, like every 50 minutes, you should move for 10 minutes. Like if I was just standing on a trampoline, like I just feel like I would be fidgety in a good way.
Yes. So you could just stand on it. What I like to do is just every like half an hour or hour, I have trampolines all over the house, but I go and bounce for 2 minutes. And I usually have like a 3-minute song. I have a song that I like. I go do the one song and then I come back. If you're looking for something to stand though, quick funny story. I actually had a treadmill desk when I was at my second firm. And side note, the death waivers on a treadmill desk at an office are insane. Like I basically signed a million things that was like, yes, I could die. Yes, I could die. But I walked at like a 1 mile pace what's it called? It went from 1 to 4. I don't remember what it was, but it was just a walking pad. Yeah. I walked like a mile an hour. I think that's what it was.
Oh, okay.
All day long. It was the best thing ever. And the first day that I had it, when I stepped off, I like crumpled and fell. I went to go to the bathroom and I stepped off and just like fell to the floor. But then I got used to it.
Because your legs were so tired, or because you were expecting them to move, like being in a roller skating rink and then getting off and you're like, I don't even remember how to walk.
Yes, that's what happened. But I highly recommend a treadmill desk if you are looking for something like that. But yeah, the trampoline, it's great. I like to also do it when I'm watching TV, stuff that you don't have to think about it. It's just, you're like, that lymphatic bounce is so easy. And you can also get the same benefits sitting on the trampoline. So like this, our viewers can't see, but our listeners.
If they're on YouTube, they saw.
Yeah.
Put that little clip in the.
Yeah, you can get the same benefits sitting.
It's funny that you have them all over.
Yeah.
That's funny that you have them all over the house.
Totally. Let's see if you can see one.
Okay.
There's a couple.
I do see two. Oh
There's another.
my gosh.
They're everywhere.
Okay, so let's see. We're gonna put your contact information, maybe not your personal cell phone, but we'll put your email, your socials in the show notes. But you can also say them. So how can they find you? Because I want people to reach out to you and follow you and all that jazz. So because who doesn't want a little joy? If you want a little joy in your life, follow Sabrina.
Yes. So probably the easiest is Instagram. I'm joyful metamorphosis _ and it's a blue butterfly. That's probably the easiest way. You can DM me and I will get back right away. And I do teach jump sport like trampoline instructor certifications. So and I teach them virtually.
Will you explain your relationship, with jump sport?
So jump sport has an online certification. It's $299. If you take the trampoline instructor certification with me, you get jump sports certification for $99. So save $200 on that. And I literally walk you through it. Basically, the entire training day is $199. I take you through jump sports training. You end the day with the jump sport official certification, plus choreographies from me, literally how to get your class started. I help you get your class started. And I have a beginner workshop series where I kind of teach you how to teach to beginners too.
Right. And then this is probably not our audience, but you never know. If someone has never taught before, but wanted to start with a format like this, could they with this certification? Not that we don't recommend primaries, because we do. We love our primary group fitness certification, but is this like entry level? Like you?
It is. I still recommend a group, like a national cert for everything.
Even for my programs, but even with our programs, you could start there and go teach them.
Yes. And I also just have a lot of people who don't want to teach, but who really want to learn the form and how to get all those benefits from rebounding. So I teach all of that as well. Like if people just want to learn how to get each benefit, because you have to kind of do different things on the trampoline to get those different benefits.
And then, so the personal training that you do, is it always I know it's in person and you drive and you put 4 of them in your car and whatever, and you have 2 clients tomorrow, but do you do virtual personal training still, or was that just a pandemic thing?
I still do it depending on the person. I'm very picky. I feel very lucky, but I only take clients that I really, really like and really want to take. That's awesome. It's rare at this point that I add new personal training clients, but if people are interested, just reach out. Oh, and then the other thing that I do that I didn't even talk about really is I do in-person women's wellness retreats. Oh yeah. Pretty much all summer and fall. And that really is the whole joyful metamorphosis. It's really about connection, and we do a million different types of classes and hikes and swimming and ice plunges every day. And yeah.
Awesome. And then, so what if they wanted to learn more about that? And then let's talk about the virtual thing.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Tell about retreats first. So if they were interested, it's women only.
It is women only, although you post stuff about Ruben and I'm like, oh man, I want to invite some guys to this thing, but it's currently women only. And there's some reasons for that, just about how vulnerable people feel and things that we share at the retreats. But yeah, if you're interested, check out Joyful Metamorphosis. I call the retreats Camp Be Here Now. It seriously feels like adult sleepaway camp. That's where the camp part is, but it really is all about like being present in the moment and being grateful for the things that we have while we have them. I think so can't remember if I told you this in Nashville. This year, I had 6 totally separate women.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, but go ahead, share it with our.
So I had 6 women tell me that I saved their life this year. and like, I never had that. And I mean, I love teaching fitness stuff and I love all the stuff that I teach. But when I heard that separately from like 6 different people, that really flipped a switch for me. Like, okay, this is actually making a huge difference in people's lives. And yeah, so I think the retreats are kind of life changing for people. It's like a group of women that comes in that didn't know each other, and a couple days later, they actually feel like family, which I think you build with your community. Like you can see it in your photos and at the events. You have like these team dinners, and it's like the best
Family.
You know, I think the right people are attracted to it. So it's not going to be for everyone, but the people who get it and who resonate with this are like, they get it, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna end with a couple of things. Obviously, your confession, hello, but Sabrina is, I was gonna say I really have nothing to do with it other than I am gonna contribute some teaching. Tell them about your virtual retreat that you're doing online that starts the day that this podcast that you're hearing this podcast, the Monday that this podcast launches. So if you're one of the first listeners of this podcast, one of the first people to listen, you could still get in on it. And it's amazing. Okay, go.
It's totally amazing. So it's a virtual retreat. I started it, actually the first official one was last year. And I call it the RYTNY retreat, the RITNY, ring in the new year. It's a virtual, well, let me just say why I had it real quick. I had requests from people who were lonely during the holidays, or who just, the holidays can be hard for people for various reasons. Like you have a lot of memories that get stirred up. Maybe you lost someone over the years that, you know, that always was like the holiday person for you. And so memories can just make the holidays sometimes really challenging. So I had a bunch of requests. When I say a bunch, like 4 requests for an in-person retreat between Christmas and New Year's.
Virtual?
What?
In person or virtual?
So I had 4 requests for in person.
In person, okay.
I set it up, and retreats during the holidays are very expensive. Travel is very expensive. A lot of people have like a day of holiday plan, or, you know, they have some stuff with their family, but there's other times. So basically I set up this retreat and then I couldn't fill it last year because I had people who really wanted it and they couldn't come. So I made it virtual. We ended up having 115 people join last year, and it blew my mind. Like the connection, because that was really my first like big virtual retreat. I was doing these in-person ones, and the connections were just as real as in person. Like everyone was
oh, I know. I feel it. I believe it. I preach it. Like the people that say online connections aren't real, I mean, that's how my whole warrior community, you've seen it. You've seen the evidence of it. I mean, you and I had a connection for like, it just, yes, virtual connections are real connections, especially when people show up authentically.
Yes. So this year I doubled the length. It's a 2-week virtual retreat from December 22nd to January 5th. So if you're hearing this on December 23rd or anytime before January 5th of 2025, jump in to this Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group. All the classes happen on Zoom. There's classes, pretty much a movement class or 2 every single morning. There's amazing workshops, like lunchtime-ish. And then in the evening, we have game nights, we have sound baths, we have special events, we have a drum circle with intention setting. Just like I blew myself away with this schedule, and I'm so excited for it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I also it's a chance to like take classes with people who you may not otherwise get to. Like, I'm so psyched that you're teaching, Ellen, because I want my people to get to experience you, and then they can all like join your classes and take them year round. So yeah, if you're an instructor and you want to just like meet new people and experience some new things, come take it. And normally there's a charge, but I'm going to say for anybody who hears about the retreat on this podcast, come for free. Just come. Yeah. Click the link, request, and just say that you heard about it on this podcast.
They can, I abbreviate the show CGX. So that's you heard about it on CGX. I was going to say, like, one of the things many of our guests have said about upskilling as an instructor, and we all know this, is to take other instructors' classes. We hear it all the time, but often we don't. This is a perfect opportunity to take from other instructors and to walk away a better instructor and to give yourself a gift. And I'm excited about it. It's actually mutually beneficial for Sabrina and I. So I'm really happy that she asked me to be part of it. I normally say no to things, just so you know. I'm like now a habit. I now tell people no before they ask the question out of their mouth. I'm like, I backpedal because I've learned, that like saying no is a big boss move. So, and I used to say yes all the time, and it's gotten me in a lot of, I've finally like matured out of that era, and I never want to go back. So I usually say no. So when you asked me, my knee-jerk reaction was no, but then I was like, then I started thinking, well, I'm already teaching virtually. I'm going to be traveling. And then I was like, this is actually really cool because the people that do online classes with me, I can give even more value to in a time where I'm actually going to be giving them less of me. So I'm very, like, selfishly very excited about it. I can't wait. So I hope that even though, again, this is really going to be for those, this is what, like, you got to listen to the podcast on Monday when it drops, people. Because if you're listening even if they're listening on Friday, I don't know, do they need to be in for the whole time?
No, they can just jump in.
Okay.
I mean, and things are being recorded and on demand for the whole 2 weeks. So if people aren't available at any time, you can watch the recording. So even if someone jumps in late, you can catch up. You can watch the videos from the first couple of days.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess you and I can talk forever and ever. Amen. But let's go ahead, I suppose, and wrap up the show. What are you going to confess? So you've heard so many, you've like heard them all.
Okay. So here is my confession. When I was 4.5, it was my very first year in dance. I quit like a couple months in. And in part it was because I couldn't do splits and everybody else could. Everyone was flexible, like kids, right? My hips are not set that way. I would stretch every day and I couldn't do a split. I was like, this sucks. I quit. So I quit dance completely. My mom took me to the recital at the end of the year and everybody had their costumes and they looked amazing. And I loved it. And I said, okay, I want to do it next year. And I went back. And now I'm still dancing. And I was the only one of all my friends that danced all the way through. So my confession is that I quit, but it's also, I think it ties into bouncing back. It's like, it's never too late. Even if you quit something, you can try again. And maybe you like quit a little bit prematurely and things can turn.
That's beautiful. I love that you also showed up to this like with so much preparation and heart. I love that you opened with that quote. And I just thank you so much for your time and your life force. It's a powerful thing.
Thank you so much for having me and being my new bestie.
I know we're just barely starting to like even out the scales. So thank you so much. And thank you to all the listeners for all the love and all the support. Please share. This is great. Like let's get the trampoline word out there and spread more joy.
Yes.
Bye everybody.
Oh, I waved. They don't know that.
Say goodbye, Sabrina. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Welcome to the Confessions of a Group X Instructor podcast. For group exercise junkies and enthusiastic classgoers, we'll explore and uncover authentic, thought-provoking, and heartwarming industry education and inspiration from entertaining, badass fitness pros. And now your host, creator of Warrior Rhythm, Warrior Strength, Warrior Combat, Warrior Revolution, and Warrior Kids Group fitness brands, Ellen DeWord. Here, we grow.